Hey designers, Jessica here, and I'm going to show you how to use the new Wet Paint Studio. So this is something I have been working on for over a year, and I finally finished tweaking it until it's a great system that you can use, and it's for people of all levels of Photoshop so that you can make really amazing brush strokes and without all the headache of setting everything yourself and figuring out how to get the colors right and all of that. So here's the brush chart, and you can see some samples of the brush strokes that we can be making. And as you can see, it is like liquid paint. And this is using the Photoshop mixer brush, which has been around for a while, but it's a little bit of an underused tool. And so a lot of people might not know how to get the most out of it. So that's what the system is getting the most out of the mixer brush tool and turning it into a system of brushes that you can just pick up and have fun with and make strokes that look just like this with no effort. And just like I did on the pattern stamp tool, I found a way to kind of hack into something that's not really being utilized and take all the headache out of it for you so that you can make these brush strokes like this. So here's some sample brush strokes. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to load up the brushes that are in the studio. And if you go here, you'll see a folder called Load These. There's Palette Makers and Wet Brush Paint Studio. So you can just like double click on them or to load them, or you can load them through your panels. So if you're looking at your brush presets panels, I'm just going to like click on this. This is brush presets. You can go up here, go to Windows brush presets, and I'm going to first load the palette makers. So I can go load brushes, and then I go to my Wet Paint Studio, and these are the palette makers. Actually, that's the regular ABR brushes, and the main brushes though are the TPL file. But anyway, we want to load this so we can make our own palettes if we like. So palette maker ABR, open, and that added them there. Or here's the other way. I can go here to load these. This is the main Wet Paint Studio. It is a tool presets file, which tool presets is brushes, but brushes that have additional settings. So I could double click on this, and here we just added all those Wet Paint Studios. So added those to my tool presets, and we're good to go. So we've loaded those. I'm going to shut off this brush chart, and I've got an empty document here. I'm going to start a new layer, and now I'm going to show you the other things. I have all of my Palette PSDs opened, and these are all the palettes that I made, and if you see here, I've got the Bold and Bright Palm Beach colors. Everything is on one layer. I've got the label on another layer if you want to reference them. And the same thing with the Impressionist Masters color blends. These palette is all on one layer, so they're easy to sample from. We've got the iridescent and pearl textures. We've got the iridescent and pearl colors. We've got the metallics as well. All the metallics come in various golds, silvers, rose gold, copper, the modern impressionist colors, which is kind of like your basic colors, and then we've got our thing here. So what I'm going to do is just show you how it works. So I'm going to go over here to my tool presets, and these are the ones that I loaded here starting at 1. I'll just select this, and when I select my tool preset, my brush number 1, as you will, it's gonna have it's a mixer brush. So what we need to do is we need to pick up some color for this mixer brush, because all these brushes by default, they don't have any color in them right now. You have to pick up the color. But luckily I made you all of these palettes so that you have so much to choose from, and you don't have to do anything to start with. You can just have fun with these and then make your own palettes if you want. So let's just go over to, say for example, the Modern Impressionist, and this is just some basic colors. So I'm going to go here, and just with this, this is the color palette layer selected. I'm going to pick over one of these colors that I want, and to select and load up your brush with color, you want to hit Option and then just go like, and then just click. So I can just hold down my Option key and hold it over any of these different colors, and I can pick them up. So let's just pick up this one right here. And as you see, you'll see a little preview of the color right here up in this box. Ooh, looks like I got too much on my Mac. So click over here, you see the preview. I picked up this color selection. Now, if you only see a single color, make sure you don't have this checked. It shouldn't be checked by default, but this is an option to load solid colors only, but we don't want to do that because the whole point of these brushes is to load color blends, not solid colors. So if you don't see the whole thing and you only see a solid color in here, make sure that that's not selected. And also, it shouldn't be as well by default. All my brushes don't have this selected, but if you were using a mixer brush before, make sure that your sample all layers is not selected. So if you see here, all my brushes, they don't have sample all layers because that can drag you down, and you don't really necessarily want that. You can put that on if you want later, but mainly we don't want that on. So I'll just go back to my brush number 1. I'm going to hit Option and click, and let's just pick up this red. So I've loaded my brush with the color, and then I'm going to go over to my document here, and I am just going to, now you don't want to just tap, you want to click and drag. So I'm going to click and drag, and as you see, you have the actual direction, the actual paint strokes, and you see the movement. It's amazing. So I'm going to go to brush number 2. I'm going to go over to the special textures collection, and I'm going to Option and click over one of these pearls, and I've loaded it up here. And what's cool with these, all of, like my palettes, is you can get different effects by kind of selecting different sections of them. So if I wanted to, I could lower the size of my brush when I'm sampling it. So I can hit the left bracket key, which makes my brush size smaller. I can hit Option, select, and as you see, I picked up a more tight area of this little palette here. So I'm going to hit Option, select, and I've picked up that from this, this palette right here. Now let's just go back over to my document here, and I'll probably increase my brush stroke a little bit bigger so you could see it by clicking my right bracket. That's a great shortcut that you can use all the time. And now I'm going to click and drag, and look, this is one of the, it's got the rougher edges, and you can see all the color blending going on. So how fun that is. And you can see all these like rough edges, and it's just really crazy. And it's cool because I can go back over to this textures here, and I could sample the same palette, but like maybe on this side, and I'm getting these colors more, and I can go over here and let's select all, cut this, and now I'm going to go like this, and now I get different colors. So it's totally cool and amazing like that. And so let's see here. Let's look at my brush previews and see some other brushes that I want to show you. I'm going to open up my brush chart here. But that is the main gist of it. So that's just how easy it is. I've made all these palettes for you, and it's just a matter of picking which brush you want, and then Option clicking to load up those colors that I've already blended for you, and then start painting. And always when you're painting, you want to click and drag, you don't want to tap or anything like that, because you want to get that smear, you want to get that paint stroke. So let's look at like a smooth one here, one that's quite smooth. Let's go to brush number 32. So let's go over to, let's go to my metallics. I'm going to go over here and select brush number 32. And I want to get a rose gold. So let's go over here, and I'll click Option and pick up that rose gold. Now it looks like I'm getting a little bit of the other ones on the edge here, So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to left bracket, and I'm going to reduce the size of my brush stroke so that I can pick up a more concentrated area over here. So now I'm going to Option Select, and now I'll see I've picked up just this color from this paint palette. So now I've got the rose gold. So let's go back over to my brush or my document. I'm going to increase the size of this a little bit now. And now I'll just paint and draw, and look at this amazing, fluid, awesome, metallic rose gold. So it is just that easy, and it's just so much fun. You just get like amazing effects just like that. So that is the main gist of it. For example, say you want to make your own color palette. So I'm going to show you how to do that really easily. And we're going to go over here to my brush presets, and there are a few of them. Now, right here we've got Palette Maker Color Jitter 0, Color Jitter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then also I've got a Palette Maker Foreground Background, and then there's 4 different levels. So first of all, let's go over here. Let's pick a, I don't know, let's hear a pink, some sort of fuchsia, whatever. Let's pick that. Now I will go to my palette maker brush, and I'm just gonna select this brush and paint here. Actually, that was the foreground background one. We don't want that one. We want the palette maker color jitter 0. So if I paint with that, it's just a single solid one color. Okay, that's not very useful to us because we need color variations so we can see those strokes, even if it's like a monochromatic stroke. But maybe I included this one in there just in case you wanted to use this as a background. Now let's grab the color jitter 1. I haven't changed my color at all, and now if I paint over it, look at how you can see here it's got some color jitter. So this is the color jitter that's going to give us the streaks, and we can see the details of the brush. So this is nice. If I go to color jitter 2, this kind of amplifies that jitter a little bit, so it's a little more dramatic. So you can use it, you could maybe use 1 if you want a brush stroke that has very subtle, you can very subtle see the paint in it. But maybe you want to see the paint a little bit more, so you use color jitter 2, or you use color jitter 3 for even more. And on color jitter 3, it starts to change the color a little bit. And it's only picking up the color from the foreground. But I just click like this, and now I have all these kind of variation color. And then 4, the level 4 is a little bit more color variation, a little more color drama, and then 5 is the most. So it really kind of adds in some different colors there. So you can use whichever color jitter you want for your desired effect. But 1 will be the more subtle color. You'll just, it'll look like a solid color stroke, but you'll see the details of the color a little bit in there. So, you'll see the strokes in the brush, which is really nice. So I've got some palette here that I've just painted on. Now to show you how this looks, I'm going to grab brush 23, and I will option click in my palette, and I've just picked up those colors. So let's draw a stroke. And there we go. I just made my own palette. I made my own colors, and you can see these awesome, color strokes and how blending it is, and it's very cool. So that is the first palette maker. The second palette maker is the foreground background jitter. So I like this pink, and let's say I'm going to pick like a blue here. So I'm going to pick a blue, and now I've got pink in the foreground, blue in the background. And if I click here, foreground background 0, this is the same thing like the other one. It's just a single solid color, which maybe you don't really need to, it's the same as this one here basically, but it has no jitter. So if you just want to lay down your foreground for a background, and then we can add on top of it. So Then we have the foreground background color jitter 1. So then, oh, I see what I was doing here. I've got my mixer brush selected. That is why. So I'm going to go over here. I just want to make sure that I have my regular brush selected. And then I go to my foreground background color here. And there we go. Okay, that's how it's supposed to be. So the foreground background color jitter 0 means it's going back and forth between these two colors, and there's not any real color jitter going on except the colors that are between these two colors. It's producing those. So that's cool. So that's the whole point of that foreground background. And it's a really easy way to make a stroke. So I could go here. Let's go back to my wet paint. I will pick one of my brushes, hit Option, Select. Let's make a new layer. And there we go. And I can see I just made a palette, and I can make a cool stroke based on that. So the next one, let's go back to my brush here, is the regular brush and the brush presets. Let's go to Palette Maker, Foreground Background 1. So this one does the same thing basically, but it adds a little bit more drama and a little bit more color variation. So, but it's between these two colors. And then the same thing by 2, it adds a little even more drama, more color variation. 3, more drama, more color variation. And 4, even more drama and more color variation. So you're going to have some more random colors pop out there. And so you can just play around with that, and it makes it really easy to make all these color blends like so fast and easy. So those are the palette makers, and so if you want to make your own palettes, then you can use those or use any of the palettes that I've already provided for you with all these blends. So I've already blended here. This is the Bold and Bright Palm Beach colors, the Impressionist Masters color blends that were taken, that I sampled from actual Impressionist Masters paintings, like Picasso and all those Manet, Monet, all that kind of good stuff. And then we have the iridescent and pearl textures, and then we have the iridescent colors, and we have the metallic colors, and the modern impressionists, which are good if you want. They have a lot of subtlety in these ones, and they don't have a lot of jitter, but it's good for if you want to make a stroke that looks mainly like one color. So let's go to like 47, 48, let's hear. I will select one of these greens. So let's just sample. I'm going to make my brush smaller, hit Option and click, and let's just get this one right here. And then let's go over to my document and maybe increase that a little bit. Oops, that's too big. And then I'm going to just brush, and that's cool. It's like quite a bit subtle and kind of mainly one color, but it still has those like really subtle, beautiful details and everything that you see. And one thing that I wanted to show you, on the brush chart, you will see some of the brushes that have quite a rough little outline. These ones work really well for the metallics or for the textures because they show a little bit of that texture on the edges. So let's go to brush 45, and I'm going to select one of the pearl or iridescent textures, and I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller. Let's select this pearl. It's quite big. I'm going to make my brush smaller, hit Option, Select. Now I've got most of that pearl up here. I'm going to go over to my document. Yeah, that's nice, but I can make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to right bracket, kind of increase my thing there. And now, when I draw, you can see I've got some of that really cool pearl texture. So it's super fun, and you can get a little bit of that detail. So that is great for the metallics and the pearl textures and the iridescence. So that's a little bit showing you what you can do. If you have any questions about this, write them on the, well, first of all, you can feel free to send me a direct email or write them on the YouTube comments so that they can be helpful to others, but not on the product page, please, because I want to keep that mainly for actual product comments and not for product support. So if you have a question or a query, or you're just wondering and you're not in a hurry, write it in the comment section below on this video. And if you are in a hurry, then send me a direct email to support@creatorscouture.com. And as I mentioned on my product page, I would write, this product is for Photoshop CS6 Plus, and I recommend to have I would say 8 megabytes of memory. I've got, or no, what is it, memory, 8 gigabytes, that's what I have. And the brushes work perfectly smooth. I never have any problem. You might see it a little bit slower now because I'm doing my screen recording, and also my disk is almost full. But otherwise the screen recording slows it down. But otherwise the brushes are perfect. But I have had a couple people that have 4 gigabytes of memory. They have a older computer, slower computer, that the brush strokes could go a little bit slower. And that's about it. So hopefully you guys are having a lot of fun with these brushes, and send me a message if you have any questions.